They thought the ocean was swallowing their ship. That was the only explanation sailors could come up with when Liberty ships, brand new, freshly launched vessels, began snapping in half without warning. It didn't matter if the sea was calm. It didn't matter if the weather was perfect. These enormous cargo ships, carrying precious supplies to the front lines, were breaking apart like glass. One moment, the deck was solid. The next, it was twisting open, as if the ocean itself were tearing the ships down the middle. Word spread through the Navy like a ghost story. Crews were terrified. Commanders were furious. Engineers were baffled. The Liberty ship was supposed to be the backbone of the Allied supply chain. Without them, the war effort simply died. So when ship after ship began splitting into two clean, horrifying pieces, the panic rose to Washington itself. Teams of experts were called in. They studied blueprints. They tested metal. They drilled core samples from damaged hulls. They ran numbers, equations, stress calculations. Nobody could explain why an entire ship, made of thick steel plates, could snap with the speed of a dry twig. And while the scientists tried to solve the mystery, the ocean kept claiming more. Then came one night in a freezing shipyard. A night that would save the entire Liberty ship fleet. She wasn't an engineer. She wasn't a metallurgist. She wasn't even considered important enough to attend the briefings. She was a welder, a night shift worker surrounded by sparks, steel, and men who assumed she had nothing to contribute to the problem. But she had something none of the experts had. She was close to the metal. She saw how it behaved. She felt the vibrations, the temperature, the patterns in the cracks that engineers only viewed on paper. And one night, while repairing a growing fracture in a ship's hull, she noticed something strange. The crack didn't behave like normal metal fatigue. Instead of ending in a rough edge, it ran perfectly straight and sharp, like glass. She thought the steel itself had turned brittle, almost frozen from the inside. Then she realized something else. Every ship that broke had the same kind of crack, and all of them started near the same welded seams. She took her observation to the foreman. He brushed her off. Welders don't lecture engineers, but she insisted. Eventually, she found someone who listened. A test was performed, and then came the discovery that stunned everyone. The metal wasn't the problem. The welds were. Liberty ships had been built at unprecedented speed, using welding instead of traditional riveting. Welding was faster, cheaper, and required less labor, but it had a flaw no one anticipated. In cold water, welded seams could become brittle. Once a crack formed, it didn't stop. It ran straight through the metal, tearing the ship in half. The welders' ridiculous idea was simple. Drill a round hole at the tip of every crack to stop it from spreading. Experts laughed at first. Drilling a hole into a damaged ship sounded like sabotage, but she insisted, so they tried it. The crack stopped instantly. For the first time, a Liberty ship didn't break apart. That tiny round hole diffused the stress, preventing fractures from running across the hull. Engineers adopted the technique across the entire fleet. The ship stopped splitting. Thousands of lives were saved, and more than 2,500 ships completed their missions because of one welder who refused to stay quiet. Her idea became standard in engineering and is still used today in aircraft, bridges, skyscrapers, and ships around the world. A discovery made by accident, ignored by experts, then embraced by history. Sometimes, the greatest heroes of war aren't the ones holding rifles or commanding fleets. Sometimes, they're standing in puddles of water, wearing heavy gloves, staring at a crack in a steel plate, and seeing what nobody else could see. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, share it with someone who loves WW2 history, and subscribe so you never miss the next episode.